At the end of the Grand Hall, we find ourselves emerging out of the past and into the present. When referring to Indigenous art, most people think of traditional forms and objects, such as what we just saw, rather than fine art. Situated 7 stories above us, we witness an array of brilliant color that adorns the dome ceiling at the end of the Grand Hall. Completed in 1993, this work of Indigenous artist Alex Janvier is one of the highlights of the museum's contemporary art collection. Alex Janvier was born in Cold Lake, Alberta, and is of Denisoulene and Saulteaux ancestry. He began his artistic practice in the 1960s, having received formal training from the Alberta College of Art. Janvier was a founding member of the Woodland School, which was a style developed by a group of Indigenous artists, which shifted away from traditional art forms, depicting renditions of cultural lifeways while simultaneously engaging with current events and issues facing Indigenous peoples. It challenged what was considered Indigenous art. He was also a member of the Professional Native Indian Artists Association, often called the Indian Group of 7. As explained by Sylvia Drever, emerging curator of contemporary Indigenous art at the Canadian Museum of History, Janvier chose to name this work Morning Star, which comes from the traditional knowledge of the Denisoulene First Nation. The morning star is said to have been a guide light in the early mornings of the winter when they would break camp while it was still dark out, using the morning star as a directional tool. Separated into 4 color-coded periods which span history from pre-contact to present day, each quadrant radiates out from the center circle. In the center, we have the guiding light surrounded by what is considered both a spiritual circle and a circle of nations. Beginning with yellow, you can see the ship forms representing the arrival of Europeans and the newcomers who imposed their religious and cultural beliefs on Indigenous people, followed by the white, connecting both yellow and red quadrants, symbolizing the reclaiming of Indigenous spirituality and practices. The red represents the strengthening of Indigenous beliefs and traditions, and this is followed by the blue, which symbolizes the imposition of European beliefs and practices onto Indigenous cultures. There are many layers and teachings to be gained from Janvier's masterpiece, but ultimately Morning Star symbolizes the direction towards unity and mutual respect between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. And Janvier chose the dome in the Grand Hall, which faces Parliament Hill intentionally, thus creating a symbolic language between Indigenous peoples and the Canadian government.